Okay, Principles of Passion, take one.
It's Principles of Passion.
Molly and I share a passion.
Hey, I am very passionate.
Oh, nice.
It is his passion.
Michael and I share a passion.
Bit of a passion for me.
It's my passion.
I've learned a lot, and I followed my passion.
Here's your host, Chris Thomas, with Denora Robles and Dominic Semino on intellectualradio.com. Principles of Passion.
Thanks, y'all, for joining us. We apologize for being a few minutes late. We're here on intellectualradio.com. Principles of Passion. And we're on episode number 7.
Lucky 7.
Staying organized. Staying organized. Again, thank y'all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for just being patient with the delay. This is my co-host, Dominic and Denora.
Hola, mi gente.
We're here. You know, the thing we're trying to do, and I had an excellent conversation today with someone that reached out to me last week. And really what she tried to do is just understand kind of where she is in her life. And I was trying to understand that with her. And she emailed me today and she said, Chris, I got my business cards. I've done this. I've done that. And like, she listened to everything said to her. All right. And like, to me, that's so gratifying when you know you've told certain people to do things before and you continue to do that. Do you know what I mean? I think you continue to follow through with that and continue to be strong for people when they're not strong and hope that people are strong for you too.
You have to be
when
that
you're
light
not
for them.
strong.
Yeah.
So again, thank y'all for joining us. We are going to have a guest speaker call in probably at about 7:10. So we'll do a quick recap. Dom, where were we last week? What did we talk about?
So last week we talked about setting goals. So what better way to do that than to stay organized? Following up with staying organized today.
Awesome. And so we do have a caller. I think this caller might be calling a little early, but that's awesome. Go ahead. We'll take it. Good evening. This is Chris.
Hi, Chris. This is Lynette MIDY. How are you?
Lynette, thank you so much for calling. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. So Lynette's calling. Lynette, do you mind if I give like a brief intro to my co-host and then tell them who you are a little bit?
Sure.
Awesome. So you're here with Dominic Semino.
How are you?
And Denora Robles.
Hey, Lynette.
Denora is a project manager. She's been in the space about 10 years. She does a lot of her work in the dental space. And then Dominic was my year up mentee, and he recently got converted, and now he's an IT security consultant at Accenture, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So I actually met Lynette at an IC Stars event. Probably, Lynette, what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago, you think?
Yes, 2 years ago, exactly.
Yeah. So Lynette is a software engineering manager for renewable digital services at GE.
That's really interesting.
She graduated college in Puerto Rico. Then she got her master's degree here in Chicago from DePaul. And she's a volunteer for the Anita Borg Foundation for Women in Technology.
Nice.
So I really wanted to bring her on here because she's struck me as one that has her SH together. You know what I mean? No, you got your stuff together. So I guess tell us a little bit about just kind of what you do more in detail aside from the title, illustrious title I just gave you.
Yeah, so I think the way to describe what I do in the simplest terms is deliver value. And for renewable energy, our team is specifically part of renewable services. So for every utility company that purchases the wind turbines, the software that they use to monitor those wind turbines is what I and my teams kind of help build.
Okay. And when you say wind turbines, can you get a little more detail on that for us? Because I don't know what it is.
That sounds super interesting.
Yeah. So the renewable space is all about maximizing how you produce energy from natural earth resources. And the aspect that I'm in is wind turbines. So I don't know if you've ever seen driving southbound on Illinois or if you use the app called What the Forecast, there's a little, it kind of looks like a helicopter. It has these blades that rotate with the wind.
Wind turbine.
Wind turbine.
Okay, I got
Yes.
you. I got you.
Yes, wind turbine.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we use software to manage that, those assets so that they're constantly producing energy.
Sure. How'd you get into that space, Lynette?
You know, interestingly enough, I signed up on a job via LinkedIn.
Really?
Yes. In LinkedIn 2 years ago, I was in Cancun and I had heard about GE Digital and how they're one of the first kind of industrial companies that were trying to be cool and become digital. And I had seen their chief financial officer at a previous employer. We had a senior leadership offsite and she was pitching how they were transforming the company. And at that time, they were trying to become like the Microsoft and produce their own platform. And I was inspired how brave that is as a company to kind of want to compete with Microsoft in the industrial space. And I resigned my previous employer and I went to Cancun. And before going to Cancun, I applied via LinkedIn and I interviewed and then I had a job offer when I got back from Cancun.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, just in where we're going with what our theme is, I would say, we're trying to look for points of adversity, right? And following that passion. And today's episode is focused on really just staying organized. I guess my question to you would be, before you applied, before that trip to Cancun, did you have in your head already organized kind of what you wanted your next step to be or where you wanted to go in your career, or, how did you direct that energy, I guess is what I would ask.
Yeah, so I would say I graduated from University of Puerto Rico and I had the privilege of interviewing with many different companies.
Are you from there too? I thought I remember you saying that too, right? You were born and raised or from there?
No, I was actually born and raised in New York. That's why
Okay.
I don't have a Spanish accent.
Okay.
So I was 13 years with Allstate, which is a financial services company, and I got promoted. I had a very successful career, and I really wanted to get to director level and kind of lead organizations. And I think one of the things I felt was that being in only one company was limited to my career development. I was sometimes jealous of interviewing other managers and other employees that I would even hire. And I was jealous of the experience that they had kind of working across different industries and just having different perspectives of what it's like to, still deliver software, but across different industries. And I was really inspired. I think Chicago is such a really great market. We have so many diverse industries and we're top for financial services. We're the top Midwest location across the U.S. country. Fortune 500 companies in the Midwest are we're the highest city with the most Fortune 500 companies in the financial services industry. And I wanted to kind of prove that I could, go into a different industry and kind of learn something new. And so I resigned with no competing job offer. And I said, Lynette, you're going to figure this out and you're going to find a job. And hopefully it's a senior manager job and you can prove that you have the right skill set to be successful as a senior manager. And that was kind of the whole goal, is to try to find a job in a different industry, whether it be retail, whether it be renewables, marketing, anything that was different from financial services.
And it seems like your plan was just really, in a sense, to kind of be confident with yourself, right? And just trust and kind of where you had come to that point and where that you wanted to be, or what goals you were trying to set for yourself in the future, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
that was our last show last week too, was just kind of setting goals. I think that's the premise to staying organized. I mean, you can be organized and follow the map all over the place, right? But if you have a goal in mind, then I think that organization is a little more directed. So it's good that you found a time in your life when you could do that. What advice would you give to someone new coming into the workforce that is a little bit all over the place, right, in terms of mapping out where they want to be, but is doing their best to try and stay organized just in the best way they know how, given that the world is coming at them while they're trying to go at the world? Like, what would you say to that?
I would say I think it's really important when you're younger to try to really articulate what you want to be. It's really important to explicitly say what you want and just go crazy with like letting everyone know. For instance, at the time I was a manager, I made it known to like every VP or sponsor that I wanted to get to senior manager and that I could get to that type of bonus level and that I could lead, 50 person teams and have managers reporting to me. And it's all about laser focus. And I think when you're younger, the more you can articulate what you want and the more crisp that is, the more you can go after it and then you can achieve it. And you're like, oh, I did this.
Right.
And I can do the next, I can do what's next. I can get to that next level. So I think it's all about being really clear about what you want, because the opportunity is going to come where someone's going to sponsor you and they're going to say, Lynette, how do I help you and what do you want? And the last thing you want to be is like, well, I don't know how much I should be making, or I don't know what a title I really want.
Right.
You just have to be very crisp with what your goals are.
Yeah. I like that. I think when I look at how I think as a male, I look at that crisp as more confidence, sometimes borderlining on the side of holding your ego, but I feel like I look at it in that same crispness, in that you always want to give your best impression, and I think that's hard to do sometimes, but it's not hard if you have that vision set and that pathway set for where you're trying to go, because I think it allows you to dig deeper, I'll let Dominic, Denora, you guys have any questions you want to ask?
Yes, I actually do. Yeah. Lynette, by the way, awesome job. Question to you, Lynette. For young women who are trying to break into the technology industry, what advice or what tips can you give them?
I would say the biggest tip, I think that's an excellent question. I think the biggest tip is to be good at one thing. So I think for females, you're going to read a lot, or when you get into the tech role, you're always going to feel like you're not good enough. And there's something called imposter syndrome, I'm not technical enough, or I don't know how to program that fast, or I don't know this technology. And guess if you're going to be in this space, you're never going to be good, because change is happening so fast. Yeah. And Google announced they're going to go into games. I'm still trying to catch up that they want to be cloud. Change is happening so much. You have to be comfortable with not knowing and admitting that you don't know, and just constantly learning, but more importantly, just having the confidence that you will figure that one thing out and then move on to the next thing, right? I think it's when you're younger in your career, it can be overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to become technical. What do I focus on? Do I focus on becoming a scrum master? Do I focus on doing software engineering? Do I focus on UI, backend? It's just choose one thing and try to get really good at it to the point where you feel comfortable asking for feedback, and your peers will tell you whether or not you need to improve, and then continue moving on, continue developing yourself.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was watching a Gary Vee
That's awesome.
podcast today, and he was talking about like we've gotten to this age where it's like, oh, seventh place, you're good, yay, you know. But really, failure is looked at negatively, and it shouldn't be. Like we're supposed to fail and supposed to grind to get to where we
It's all
need to
trial and
be,
error.
right?
There's
We
an
need to get
experience.
better at being
Yeah.
comfortable failing. If you're putting yourself out there, like if you're failing and you're in a rigmarole job and you're doing the same thing every day, not trying to get better, that's different, right?
Mhm.
But if you're failing and you're constantly putting yourself in new situations every day around new people, but to Lynette's point, laser focused, because you could put yourself around new people all day. If they're not within the industry or within the laser focused beam that you have, you're wasting time and energy. And I think the more laser focused you can get, the better organized you can be, and the closer you'll get to your goals, the faster.
That's a good point.
So, a great quote here that I heard. I didn't hear it. I read it. Muhammad Ali. I didn't hear it from him. My message to you all is of hope, courage, and confidence. Let's all our resources in a systematic and organized way and tackle the grave issues that confront us with grim determination and discipline worthy of a great nation. Systematic and organized is what I take out of that. And before I kind of relay some of the audience, I want the audience to know you can call in. We're open for suggestions. Anytime you want to call in and vent, say anything, we're on intellectualradio.com. You can call in at 708-223-8953. And you can also tune in on Facebook at Your Passion First. Again, that's Your Passion 1ST. But I think when you look at a systematically organized way of life in government, right? This isn't a politics show, but think about your mind being the government of your life, right? Dominic, I think I put a quote on here that I wanted you to touch on. What do you think about that, the systematic approach, the organized fashion, and the way that we organize government? But how would you translate that kind of to your own mind, and how you set those goals in an organized way, understanding that it's a bigger part. You're setting a goal to get to this point, to break it down to each of these things and start here today.
Okay. So
I know that was my abstract way of thinking, but hopefully that
it's cool. It
well.
actually helped me stay organized with my thoughts right now.
Okay, good. And Lynette, honestly, think about that too. And I want you to chime in. I want to be cognizant of your time too as well, though. Do you have a hard stop?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, cool. Go ahead now.
So for me, before I even touch base on that, Lynette, I just want to say that hats off to you. Having that confidence is half the battle, and the quicker you find it, the more you're able to do so much more in life, and it's awesome. So hats off to you for that. And then about the staying organized, so how I do it is very unorthodox. So how I stay organized is I scramble all my thoughts together, and visually putting it, I would say I dump them all out, and I take a breath because I need it after all that. It's really overwhelming. So I do that, and then I say, okay, what can I do right now? I see what I want to get to. I know it's in line. It's in my goals. But what can I do today to get there? So I have to stay organized. So I touched on it last week a little bit. I said, I made the bed. It's a little bit of energy that goes a long way. Like, so take that and put it into those steps to staying organized. It's like, so today, I'm studying for my Security Plus certification, for example. Read about like 20, 30 pages a day. Go back to it. Next day, I take the practice quiz. I don't do so well. It's okay. I still stay organized by taking those notes, still studying for it, and then progressing from those fails.
Right.
Trial and error.
Right.
So it all kind of goes hand in hand, but that's how I normally stay organized. I dump all my thoughts out, and then I have a little saying, it's life in increments. So you have like this big picture of what you see as life and what you want it to be, but you have to take those little steps to get there. And every day is that little step. Depending on what you do with it, you can't just sit around and not do anything. You have to take those little steps, those days, and turn it into progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 5% a day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Goes a long way.
For sure. Lynette, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I like what he just shared in the example of him, dedicating the time to test, to take the test, to study, take notes, do a brain dump of everything that's on the mind. I was going to share one book that I read in December. It's called The One Thing. And it's about having like maniacal focus on like one goal at a time, and like dedicating every single day, maximizing your time towards that goal and just that one thing, and constantly ask yourself, what is the one thing I'm doing today to get me closer to my goal?
Nice.
What is the one thing I'm doing down to the minute, down to the second? So like scheduling, I think one of the important things is like scheduling your time and managing your time and making sure that you're every single day dedicating time to that goal, and that just forces you to stay organized. I personally like to spend like Sunday, I block time so that I plan my entire week, and that includes family activities, workouts, times with friends, lunch, coffee meetups, and then time to study, because I am taking some Udacity courses online, and I want to make sure that I keep my skills current and that I'm learning, Python and Flask and all these cool things. So I go do my grocery shopping, help with the family, and then I'm like, peace, I'm out. Sure, I got to go study 2 hours.
Right.
And that just helps me stay organized. It's just blocking the time and dedicating time to it. No excuses.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. No excuses. Denard, you have something you want to add? Anything?
No, I'm along the same lines. I actually do the same. I'll write it down, kind of organize it in my head, write it down, and then I just use my phone and apps. At the end of the day, those are my resources. So if anyone comes out and says, hey, I don't know how to get organized, it's literally in the palm of your hands.
Really
There's
is.
no excuse,
Really
in other words.
It really is. So again, we're on intellectualradio.com, Principles of Passion. We're episode number 7. We're getting deeper here into these episodes. It's going to be interesting to see what principles other people bring. I think 5 episodes in the future, we'll have our first person bring their principles. So
That'll be exciting.
I'm planning, just to see kind of, okay, these are mine, right? I want to hear some of yours too, and we'll throw some of those in. But we want to hear from other people, kind of like what are things that have been profoundly incremental in your growth as you've overcome adversity. That's what we're trying to figure out. So just to table set again, level set, organize. Couple definitions here. Arrange in a structured whole order. Whole, right? Whole. You can't get to the end without knowing what the whole thing looks like. Exactly. Right? And someone actually texted me today. He's like, Chris, can my passions change over time? Of course they can. Absolutely. Right? But if you're passionate about something, it's going to change because you're going to fail, like you said earlier, Dom, and you're going to readjust. But your passion, your end goal is not going to change. You want to get somewhere. Okay. What's your next goal? Security plus cert? Yes. Okay. You failed. It's not going to stop me from going and taking the test again. It's not going to stop me from studying. It's going to actually make me better because now I know what I did wrong before. I have a leg up. Yeah. Right. And every time you do that and have that mindset, you have another leg up to get to your goal. Yeah. I think where a lot of people, and I don't want to say people because it's not motivated people. It's people that haven't defined, found, or enhanced their passion. Right. I think those type of mindsets fall short easily because of a lot of reasons. Right. We brought up some of them: confidence, setting goals. Staying organized, believing in yourself, right? I know that's confidence, one and the same, but staying organized, you fall short for a lot of reasons. But I think when you can envision where you want to go and not just map it out from where you are from here to there, but map it backwards. Like, we're like, okay, you want to be here in 5 years. If you were there in 4 years, what would that look like? Like, what would you need to be? And what things would you need to attain to get there? If you were there in 3 years, what would that look like? If you were there in 2 years, if you were there in 1 year, if you were there in 1 month, what would that look like? And what would you need to do for the next 4 weeks? And in week 1, what do you need to do on day 1, which is tomorrow? You know, and like really sitting down, mapping that out, reverse engineering it, and saying, what can I do starting tomorrow to follow that path and get to where I need to be in 5 years, right? And that time frame changes, I think, for a lot of people. But again, it's mapping it out, right? Anything anybody wants to add to kind of that? That's just what I was feeling.
Yeah, actually, so what you said, like at first when you said it, I thought you meant like backtrack from like before you where you're at right now, and the way you were describing it, that made me even think about it as that way. Like, so you see where you're at today, and you backpedal from there and see where you were. Not go back to those ways, obviously,
Sure.
but you would go back and like see, I did it like this before. That's why it failed, and you keep progressing that way, and you see where you came from and how those steps you took to get to your passion have changed, and it also motivates you and keeps pushing you to keep going and changing, adapting.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's super
This
interesting.
guy, the kid, comes up with another one.
Not a kid. That's
Oh, birthday
I never
Thursday.
thought of
right.
I never thought of it that way, though. Using that energy, and I'll let you chime in too, Lynette, if you have anything to say. But like, what would you say just about that energy from adversity or failure, and kind of how you've used that to energize yourself?
Oh, wow. That's like a whole separate topic on its own.
Isn't it crazy how they all intertwine like that?
Yeah. I would say I personally have gone through so much adversity. If anything, it's proved like it's fuel just to be better every single day and prove to myself that anything I put my mind to it with grit and execution, I will achieve it. So
Definitely.
I'm a fan of adversity. I'm like, we will play that game and I will prove you wrong.
Yes, I love it.
Bring it. So me personally, I don't shy. I don't shy from it. I don't know if it's because I'm part Latina or something like that, but I think that really pushes me and it drives me to do even better and push harder.
That's awesome. That's good. And some people are not motivated by that because they haven't learned how to be yet.
Exactly.
I don't think it's like oh my God, you're scared. Okay, be scared. But I think the second you make that mind shift of, hey, guess what? I want to look for the challenges, because if things are complacent and I'm stagnant, then I'm not growing. I'm not learning, and I'm not putting myself around people that are elevated, and bringing myself to their level as opposed to dragging people up. So
my question to you, Chris, is it organized in a context of work related or personal life related or intertwined?
Oh, it's definitely intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
I think that,
because there's two different organizations. Like, organized at work is completely different from like your life work balance. Is that what you're speaking of?
I think people use that term work-life balance too loosely.
Describe it.
Because if you're passionate about what you do, it's gonna flow. Let me take a step back.
Yeah.
There's some people that have not been able to do that yet. Right.
What do you mean, work-life balance?
No, to get to a point where they're passionate about everything in their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to work and you may, like, for example, I was talking with someone today and trying to figure out what he wants to do. I'm like, hey, you want to open up a shoe store, you want to start a clothing line, and you want to own real estate. Young kid, 21, let's go. Nice. Do it. How are you setting yourself up for it? Right. But how are you breaking that down in that you may have to work something you don't want to do to get to that point? But what are you doing with your off time while you're working what you have to do and put food on the table?
So it goes back to goal setting and
setting those goals and knowing, okay, I got to go to the factory today from 6 to whatever time. And then when I get off, I got 3 hours of grinding and I got Well, really, in reality, we need 6 hours of sleep. So you got a lot more time of grinding and a couple hours, 1 hour to hang out with your friends. If you have family, 2 hours to hang out with your family, right? But you set those goals and you balance it, and you don't just cry about the stuff you got to do.
Yeah.
I think you got
to get there one way or another.
You just do it.
I think that's where passion kicks in.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Well, passion comes from goal setting, which comes from
vision,
staying organized, which comes from believing in yourself. You build all those things up collectively every day, then you get passion from that. But there's so many students I taught to that haven't found their passion yet, and that's okay. You found out how to work hard, though. You found out things that you really like in life that you like to do. So how do you direct your energy towards those things? Even if, to the point of the student today, he wants to sell shoes, cool. Get into a manufacturing company or learn sales, learn finance, like learn some basics about that to get you there. And then on the side, be going to volunteer at different shoe companies, take 2 hours out of your week to just go and give some of your time to something you really love. And that, when people say they're passionate, that's how I know they're really passionate. This is what you're doing outside of your regular activities.
So, Lynette, question to you. You sound like you're very busy and you've accomplished these goals. How did you do the whole work, quote unquote, life balance?
And family.
And exactly. So work and life balance while pursuing your passion.
You might have lost her. Did we lose her?
I think she took another call. Yeah, she took another call. That's what the beep was.
Oh, she might have had to jump off. That's all right. Hey, Lynette, thanks for joining us. I know you were busy. I think she's going to Mexico tomorrow for like 8 days.
Oh my God, it must be nice.
So the fact she took the time out
must
to even
be nice.
do this, much appreciated. I've been drawn to her. She's very sharp woman. She on again?
Oh, I think you just hung up.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
No, yeah.
She's awesome.
That's all right. That's all right. No, but sharp lady. She's going places further.
She makes women look good. I like that.
You know,
she makes Latino women look good too. I like that a lot.
You know what? I like that. It's been very tough, as you guys know. And like, I was willing to not have a guest on the show tonight if it wasn't a woman, because I feel like we need more of that diversity.
Thank you. About time he does that.
I do have a couple more women lined up, but like that's part of the diversity, right? Women in professions that they love, that they're passionate about, that they love doing. You know, let alone people, right? Don't get me wrong, but women disenfranchised, the whole 9 yards. So
it's just harder for women in the tech industry, so that's why it's really interesting to have.
It's hard for
not hard, but it's
people.
There's challenges.
In the industry, but it's harder for women in more male-dominated industries, and tech is definitely that.
The job is already hard enough.
Oh, that's why that's why I give props to Accenture so much, because they have an event every month, I think, women's coding. The coding
I did
for
see
women,
that.
I seen that on the 40th floor. I was like, that's so righteous.
That's cool. That's
power
good
to
stuff.
them. Yeah.
Anytime you are giving back to that, and we didn't even get to half the stuff on here because I had a lot of stuff I wanted to say, but I love having guests on. I think that's the goal. But anytime you are truly giving back, right? There's making money, there's giving back. If you could do both, great. More power to you, right? But when you're trying to really dig deep and solve a challenge with giving back, like that's the utmost greatest feeling to me. It's like you're giving back, and it's a deep systemic issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that kind of leads me to next week too. We're gonna have and I don't want to call him a friend yet. I hope we can become friends one day. But a colleague, someone I've associated with, he went to school with my sister, and he's a huge community activist. His name's Anthony Clark. He'll be on next week. And I think that's just going to be a good opportunity to hear a little bit more about the community from someone that's very active in it, right?
Yeah.
I consider myself partially active in comparison. So I'm excited to have him on. Again, intellectualradio.com, Principles of Passion, episode number 7, Setting Goals. We got a little bit of time left. I think in order to wrap up, I guess, would you guys like to add anything? I think there's a couple things I want to add in terms of tips I have and a couple of career fairs going on. But anything you guys want to throw in, or?
Yeah, I mean, I could just add in, I mean, for the topic of the night, I would just say, staying organized. There's not one way to stay organized. It works differently for everybody as long as you have something. Like, for example, so my room is a mess to other people on quotes, but I know where everything's at.
Everything.
And
even
everything
under
to the
like
T.
little pair of pants you threw off, like, oh, I think when I threw that, this was
like,
under there.
It was right there. Yeah, exactly. So everyone, as an example, like everyone has their own way, and like if someone cleaned that up, I would have been lost, but whoever did that knew where it was. So with that being said, I would just say that there is no one way to stay organized. You just have to find your way and roll with it. And it might not be on the first try. It never really is, but it's all trial and error.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, two things that stuck out to me just in some of the research I did. And when I say research, I'm always trying to look for ways to get better. Every time I try and do a script for a different episode, it's me trying to research things that are going to get through to people, right? That get through to me, first of all, because it's got to move me, but that are going to get through to you on some things in life that I feel like are basic, but that we all take lightly sometimes, especially when all this other stuff is thrown in. You got the world coming at you as you're young, trying to be inspired and get into the workforce. As you're older, you got family and all this other stuff coming at you as you're still trying to follow your passion. And so I think sometimes we fall away from the basics, and that's all this is about. It's about inspiring people through stories of adversity, through stories of success, and through basic things that they could do in their life, every day to try and follow that passion, define that passion, whatever you have to do, whatever works for you. Couple things that stuck out though. Make a menu plan every day. Every single day, right? There's something I've been telling people, do a 5x5 plan, right? And so pick something up top, pick 5 things that'll get you there, and then pick out what you need to do over 5 months, every month. Reverse engineer, right? But when you break that all the way down to the barest, it's a meal plan for your day. Okay? So up top is, I want to be a CISO in your case. Well, okay, 5 things. Network more with CISOs, get more certifications, do better at my job, stay healthy, right? Other things, right? But you break those down, what does that look like under there, right? And then how do I break that down into month 5, right? Here's what I'll be. Month 4, here's where I'll be. Month 3, here's
That's a nice way to look at it. I like that.
Month 2, here's where I'll be. Month 1, right? And then month 1, and what I do is I break down month 1. I broke down recently at work month 1 through 3, vaguely. And then month 1, I broke down by the week.
Okay.
Right. And so I do mine weekly. I don't do it daily, but to this, do it daily, right? If you're not to the point of being that, 5 months out, 3 months out, menu plan every day. What are 5 things that are going to get you where you need to be in whatever time frame you feel you want? If it's a year, fine. If it's 2 years, fine. If it's 3 years, right? The longer out you can plan and stick to it, the better. Okay. Do a 10-minute tidy up before bed, right? Everyone dreams. Even if you don't remember your dreams, go to sleep thinking about what you want to be tomorrow. And I don't think we as a whole take time to do that enough. We're watching TV, we're falling asleep doing this, but
that's super interesting you say, because there is in Stoicism, the philosophy branch, that is one of the practices. Just lay in bed for 10 minutes a night, just reflecting on the day, seeing what you did, how you reacted, how you stayed organized, how you've continued to follow your passion. And it's guaranteed that, and I've tried it, and it's guaranteed that it reflects the next day. It's reciprocating. You feel that.
Yeah.
So that's super interesting.
It's funny. I went to bed last night. I didn't have a guest for the show today because Lynette didn't confirm. But I went to bed thinking about what I was going to do. I even woke up and like her and I we were, don't get me wrong, we were exchanging emails. Like she was busy this week. very on it, right? But I woke up and I was like, crap, I don't got a guest. Like, I was prepared to not have one, but I didn't have one. And so I texted her. She texted me back. I ended up getting our next 4 shows lined up, right? Because of the mental thought process of what am I going to do? If she doesn't get back to me, what can I control about this right now? And what can't I control? And guess what?
Exactly.
She got back. I had to stop in the middle of a lunch meeting with a new client and tell them, hey, I have my podcast. I really need to get on this call. And she committed to doing it. And like, I think that's just a testament of just doing what you can do, controlling what you control, organizing where your goal is. And you may fall off track a little bit, but are you still staying true to your end goal? You know what I mean? And it kept me positive because I had little wins, right? And I got off the phone like, yeah, she can do it. She's like, what's wrong with you? The client I took out. And I'm like, little wins. She could do the show tonight. No. Not in person, but she's going to call in. You know what I mean? And so
the little things
appreciating those little things goes so far, right? And that's why I say map it out every day, because the little wins you get every day, if you have a plan for the big picture of what you're trying to do in a year, what you're trying to do in 3, what you're trying to do in 5, those little wins every day add up because there's 365 days in a year. And if you have one little win a day, you'll probably have more if you're grinding, right? But one little win a day
feels good. Yeah.
Grinding.
It's motivating.
Yeah. Grinding. All right. There's actually 2 job fairs this week. If anyone is looking for a job, trying to find a job, there's actually 3. There's one on Thursday at 11 o'clock. It's called Spring 2019 Networking Career Fair. It's at Roosevelt University, 430 South Michigan Avenue downtown. Get there. You need a job? Get there. You need to network? Get there. You trying to learn? Get there. You don't have a job? Get there. All right? Grant Community High School, Spring into Careers, Career Fair. Wednesday, that's tomorrow, 9:40 a.m. it starts. Grant Community High School. It's a little far. It's Fox Lake. For those of you that in the suburbs, 285 East Grand Avenue in Fox Lake. Those are the only 2 I have for today. A good quote: the state must be the first to be organized and totally committed to serving the interests of the people. I know it's a little political. Let's forget about that. Let's think about the state being your mind, right? And your being, and the interest of the people being what's in the best interest of all the little thought processes that are going on in that mind of yours, right? That state of being needs to be the most organized, because if you don't know where you're trying to get, then you're going to be shooting an arrow at a non-existing target, and then you're going to think you're going to hit all the time. But really, you're missing every time until you really put that target into place. So I would just make the recommendation of everyone to try really thinking about what your goals are today, and more importantly, how you're going to stay organized, and most importantly, how you're going to stay disciplined. And just doing it day in and day out, 5% a day, little chunks at a time. Y'all want to add anything?
No, I think that was a nice way to go out.
Yeah. Thank y'all for having us. Again, intellectualradio.com, Principles of Passion, episode number 7. Stay organized. We'll see y'all next week. Next week's episode is going to be about, sorry for the delay, people. 85%. Oh, yeah, I like this one. We're having Anthony on, okay? Community activist. 85% of all opportunities are gained through networking. He's a huge networker, huge into the community, just huge into trying to do the right thing, but really bonding with people. And that's what networking is about, is showing that there's value and where that value can come in, and how we're going to set up next steps to make sure that that value is enhanced. So hope to see y'all next week. Again, intellectualradio.com, Principles of Passion, episode number 7. Holla.
Okay, Principles of Passion, take 1.
It's Principles of Passion.
Molly and I share a passion.
Hey, I am very passionate.
nice.
It is his passion.
Michael and I share a passion.
Passion to me.
It's my passion.
I've learned a lot, and I followed my passion.
Here's your